By the time this episode drops, it will be less than a month until taxes are due in the United States. So if you haven't gotten your shit together and you need somebody to come in at the 11th hour and help you get everything organized and prepared for next year as well, go to m3virtualaccounting.com and talk to Molly Morris. She will do a free consult with you. This is what I did when I first got in touch with her, and we talked over what it was that I needed, and she offered me a really reasonable rate. And I'm actually going to start doing personal accounting with her as well now. So please, if you need help, it's out there. m3virtualaccounting.com. This is an Unspoiled Network podcast. This is Some Spoiled, a Song of Ice and Fire to the co-host Switcheroo, the rereading Return to Westeros HBO spoiler edition, uncut, uncensored, 2-hour TV, 1998. Call in, yay! Okay, in this episode, we're covering chapter 74 and 75, Arya and Samwell. Arya's chapter is the one where she goes off on her own adventure, and leaves the hound behind, smoldering with a fever. And Samwell, surprise, is at the wall. Welcome to Unspoiled.
Monsters are dangerous, and just now, kings are dying like flies.
I am the king!
Fuck the king.
Welcome to the show, everyone. I am Natasha.
I'm Rashawn.
All right. So, what did you think about the way that this happens in the book versus the show? It's always the question.
All right. So I just want to start off by saying, I guess George Martin was like, fuck what happened with Sam and Bran. You don't need all those details.
We don't need it. We're not getting
Don't
it.
need those details.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I spent a lot of time telling you about what people were eating in various locations, but I don't have time to tell you about the time that Sam spent with Bran and this arduous journey to get back to the wall. So, you know, I'm fairly certain that an episode or so ago, I said to you all how much I was looking forward to getting back to that story. I couldn't wait till we got back to see what was going on with Bran and Sam. So y'all just set a bitch up. That's fine. That's fine. I
got some things I'm going to need to talk to you about before we start the next book also, because there's... You know what? I may as well ask you now, how much do you know about the way these books work from here on?
I don't think I know much of anything. I really don't know what you mean.
Okay, yeah, I was sort of like, if she doesn't know what I mean, this question's going to sound like complete gibberish. So the way that A Feast for Crows and Dance with Dragons are set up is that they are two different books taking place at the same time. And they had been one big book, but it was too big. So they asked George to split it into two. And instead of just chopping it down the middle and having it be jumping from POV to POV in the same way that he has been up to now, what he decided to do was take all of the POVs for one character and stick them in this book, and then all of the POVs for that character and stick them in the other book.
Oh.
So it's different. It's really different. And I have debated whether to even like tell you that, because I kind of was looking forward to seeing what your reaction was as we got halfway through the first of the two and we didn't get an XYZ POV. But I just felt like I ought to warn you.
I don't love how that sounds.
It's sort of weird because it's not exactly bad. It's just a little frustrating.
It sounds incredibly frustrating.
And you get new POVs. So your instinct is to be like, oh, I can't believe that we don't get any of so-and-so in this book. But you get other stuff that is distracting because it's also really compelling. So while you're still like, no, but I still want to know what's going on with this person, you get some other very compelling stuff that is really worthwhile spending time with. You know what I mean? So it's a really tricky, weird thing that has let me tell you, when those books came out and people realized that's what he had done, it was ugly. Like, I was luckily, I had come into the series after the shock of that had pretty much worn off for everybody. But I heard the stories of folks who read the first of the two and were like, wait, where's... I don't even know if I should tell you who's in the first of them and who
Were
isn't.
they released? Were they released at the same time?
Girl, no. Mm-mm.
But if he had one book and only had to split it, then were they released very close together?
All right, so let's see. This Feast for Crows was 2005, and then A Dance with Dragons 2011.
What? Why did you have to wait 6 years? See, you guys.
I bet he like had it written in the order, and then he was like probably not even done quite writing it, and they were like, "This is already too long.
Oh my god,
You're gonna need to."
This guy, this fucking guy, y'all. Oh, ugh. I wish my opinion of him were better. I'm sorry, the internet ruined it for him, for me.
I get it.
I can't. I got no patience for him.
Yep.
Even for shit that happened like, in 2005.
Mm-hmm.
I have no patience for it.
Yeah, it's a weird thing that I am. Should I tell you? I'm trying to decide whether to tell you whose POVs are in which books, and you know what I mean? Do you think I should?
No, don't tell me.
Okay.
Don't tell me. Let me be disgusted in real time.
Okay. Well, at least you're vaguely prepared, and then I think that's fair. We'll just
because I appreciate being slightly prepared, because I'm telling you, when we opened Sam's chapter and he was just sitting there talking to John, I was like, I beg your fucking pardon. Like, I just couldn't. Like, it's like Jilly and Val, or like she's nursing Val's Mance's baby in like the first line. Like, Gilly didn't even go down the steps with them last we saw.
That's correct.
And now she's just at the wall with Mance's baby. Oh, I was so irritated. Like, I straight up stopped and like said, did we read a bunch of Sam chapters and I just forgot them?
Negative.
And like, I had to really think about it. Like, I flipped back a little bit, like a real quick flip.
Flipped out and flipped back.
Right? Did I miss some Sam chapters? What the fuck happened? Nope. So if that's what the next book is going to be like for me, where I know a thing is happening and then I never get word of that thing or how it went down. Oh.
Yeah. I mean, that's not how it is.
Oh, boy. Jesus Christ. Oh, every day we stray further from God's grace. All right. So the Arya chapter, and the little bit that I remember from the show, because we were talking before about, like, I couldn't remember exactly where they go, her and the Hound go from the last place we saw them.
Mm-hmm.
And she leaves him. I thought it happened later than this. But again, the way the timeline works versus the show is just so wonky anyway.
Definitely.
But I wasn't expecting them to separate in this chapter. And I think on the show, like here, they run into the Tickler and Polliver at the inn. But on the show, they go to the inn, and it's Brienne.
Yes.
and I don't know if she's by herself or what she's doing there, who she's traveling with, if anybody. And does Brienne and the Hound, they fight, don't they?
Yes.
And that's where he gets injured.
Yeah.
That's how that goes down,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because in the show, the Polliver and Tickler, they're already dead, right?
So I'm going to read you the notes from Austin Armenio.
Okay.
Thank you, Austin. And Austin did send me the notes for the other episode that I had said that he didn't, but I guess I lost them. I looked in my trash and everything. I couldn't find them, so I don't know what I did. But starts off with the woman whose bones are in the gibbet was the innkeeper Masha Heddle, who was executed by Tywin as punishment for Tyrion being captured there, which honestly is so fucking annoying. Like, what the fuck was this poor woman supposed to do in the face of Catelyn and all of her dudes claiming fealty? Absolutely fucking nothing. And this is just a really good example of how you don't get to win ever if you are small folk.
Yeah. Also, it's like Tywin does this not because he gives a fuck about his son in any real way, but that it was an embarrassing thing that happened to a Lannister.
Exactly.
In public.
It's purely a pride and reputation thing. The Hound is gravely wounded from his fight with the 3 men at the inn and is left for dead by Arya. This is different in the show. There, Brienne catches up to Arya and the Hound, something that does not happen in the book. The two fight and the Hound is knocked off a cliff by Brienne, and Arya leaves him dying from those wounds. So that's as much as we get. I don't, and he mentions about, and this is something specifically about the way that she kills the Tickler here. And I'll jump ahead and just talk about this now. Here, the killing is manic. And Arya is clearly traumatized and letting out anger, fear, and hate. In the show, she is just coolly quoting back the lines he said to her friend Lolly before he killed him. I don't remember Lolly. It might be a typo. The show overall suffers from seeing Arya's journey as, quote, she becomes a cool assassin, rather than, quote, this traumatized child is becoming more and more traumatized. So that's pretty much all the notes for the first of these two chapters.
Okay. So I guess he didn't. I thought that she had the Tickler killed, was one of the people she had, what's his face? Jaqen
Hagar.
I thought he was one of the people she had him kill on the show, but I guess not. I mean, he made it to the end.
It might be that because the show puts characters, like, smushes them together. And it might be that the guy she kills in the show isn't actually named Polliver, and he still has the same fate and it all goes a similar way.
Right.
But he's just like technically a different character.
Gotcha. Yeah, this we're talking about the way that she kills and gets Needle back, and I just reading that, I remember being like, that definitely wasn't in the show. Like, she just like this murder is like Austin has said in his notes, this is rage and fear and however long this has been all pent up, coming out at once. She's not just a cool cold-blooded killer. This is a little girl who has just seen entirely too much and been asked to do terrible things and have seen terrible things done.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it starts with just them. She doesn't even want to go in. She recognizes the end. She realizes that she's been here before, and she remembers that it is where they stopped on their way to King's Landing at the very, very beginning of the story.
Yeah.
And she doesn't want to go in, and then she even says to him, to the Hound, like, what if somebody recognizes you? They try to take you hostage and captive, and he's just like, I don't care about any of that. Let him fucking try. And she thinks to herself, he goes in, he's like, you can stay outside with the horses then if you don't want to go inside. I'm going in for some wine. And she thinks to herself, this would be a perfect time for me to go. But she doesn't. she just takes the horses to the stables and then goes inside after him, which is, again, this is another time where we see her think about, I could just take this horse and fucking go.
Yeah.
But she doesn't. She's not there yet.
Nope.
Whatever that there is, she's not there yet. She's still, I think, afraid to be on her own, you know. So she walks in, and yeah, they all know who he is. Like, It wasn't like he was going to just blend in. And we get a lot of like back and forth with these assholes and him. And but there's some important information that comes out. She looks and she recognizes the guy as Polliver, and the tickler is there as well, and then some like third, you know, squire boy that we don't know. I don't even know if he gets a fucking name.
I don't think so. No.
And this somebody is one of them. I don't know if it's Polliver or the tickler, or maybe it's just the little boy who we doesn't get a name. Is talking a lot of shit. He's talking entirely too much, if you ask me. Insulting the hound, saying, you know, basically, we heard from your brother that you ran away from the Blackwater, and just talking a lot of shit.
Yeah, he's a squire. He's the squire who's starting this shit.
And the two other guys who just kind of like put like, yo, chill.
I love that they, despite everything, are still like, you don't want that. Like, these are brutal men who have done horrific things, and they are just like, hey man, you're really going too far. Which just goes to show what kind of fucking reputation Sandor has, which I tend to forget. Like, I remember what his reputation is amongst the small folk, because he's like practically a legend at this point, with the combination of having worked for Joffrey and being burned and disfigured, making him sort of a monster in their eyes. But like, amongst other fighting men, I forget that he commands this level of respect. So yeah, I really appreciate this moment.
Yeah. Just about every time he runs into somebody, they decide they do not want that smoke.
Yep.
And it is almost always the correct decision. So they're like trading insults over their respective, you know, tables of wine and ale or whatever. And Polliver tells them that one, if you're looking for your brother, he's gone because he's been called back to King's Landing. Also, I don't know if you've heard, Joffrey is dead, poisoned. And when they ask who, he's like, oh, the imp and his wife.
I've forgotten it.
And so
Arya doesn't know about this part.
Right? Arya and the Hound are just like, his little wife. What wife? What are you talking about? And they don't name her, but they say, you know, Winterfell's daughter. And so, of course, everybody knows exactly what that means. And Arya is like, oh, because the rumor is also, you guys, the way the fucking news travels and the way that we embellish shit, and just like, the rumor is she killed the king with a spell, and then afterwards changed into a wolf with big leather wings like a bat and flew out of a tower window. That is the word on the street.
I feel like it's not, but sure. Okay, we'll say that.
And Arya just goes, well, that's stupid. And you know what? She is correct.
Oh, I love that so much.
But Arya's just like, it's stupid because Sansa doesn't know any spells. Not because, like, she turned into a wolf with giant bat wings.
I do like later too. Arya's just like, man, I wish I could turn into a wolf with bat wings.
Right?
Oh, that'd be great.
Like, that's not the part of the story she took issue with.
Nope.
And so Arya's hearing this information, and she's just like, she would never marry Tyrion. Like, none of this makes sense. This all has to be a lie. And so the Hound is trying to get like more of the like news of the day. and he wants to know like what's going on with his brother. Did he get Harrenhal? And they fill him in that what actually went down there, which wasn't great. Killed everybody but like a few people that they needed. And Arya's just like, what do you mean you killed all the rest? Like you said that super casually. Like,
oh, did you mention the part where he's like, oh, and the other Stark girl is going to marry?
Oh, we haven't gotten to that yet.
Oh, is that later? Okay, I thought he mentioned that earlier. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, I don't think so. After they talk about what happened at Harrenhal, and then they ask about who's at River Run, and then it comes down right after River Run. He says, what is it? Oh, they found her too, the sister. She's for Bolton's bastard, I hear.
Okay.
That comes a little bit later. But in like the same sort of area. So Arya hears that. What do you mean? She doesn't have any other sister.
I love this. The Hound just laughs. What's so bloody funny? Asked Polliver. The Hound never flicked an eye at Arya. If I'd wanted you to know, I'd have told you.
Yeah, so that's pretty good.
Oh my God. I am going to start just doing that. Just laughing to myself. And when people ask, just be like, it's none of your business. What's funny?
I love that it doesn't, like Arya doesn't, or we don't get it any moment of her really thinking about what this could possibly mean.
Mm-hmm.
She's just like, there's no other sister. I'm not marrying a Bolton. What the fuck are they talking about? And then she just moves on.
So then the tickler is like, well, maybe you should come on down to King's Landing with us. And understandably, Sandor is like, go fuck yourself. And he acts like he accepts that and sort of leans backward, puts his hand behind his head. And the Hound, being no fool, gets the fuck up out of the way just before the knife comes out and goes flying through the air.
Yeah. So it goes pretty fast. And then the Hound is just like, awesome. I was really hoping you would do something stupid. And she gets out of the way, and it's fight. But the Hound has had a little bit too much to drink really quickly, so he is not really on his game.
Yeah.
And we have Arya kind of like on the outskirts watching this fight and sort of interjecting when she can, like she throws a cup or something at I think it's the squire, and like cracks him right in the face, and he drops for a little bit. And
I just want to mention, when the knife is thrown, the way it's written, it says, if the Hound had not been moving, the knife might have cored the apple of his throat.
Oh, yeah, that's nice.
Ow, I don't like that. Anyway, I'm sorry. Move on. I just wanted to mention that because...
Yeah. So she realizes that the Hound is kind of losing this fight. And she tries to throw a dagger the same way, and it does not go over well.
I felt so bad for her in this moment.
I don't know why she thought she could just like, I mean, I guess it just looks like it's something that's very easy to do.
This is the kind of thing that, like, she is smart enough that I bet she could pick this up quite well if she gave herself time to practice and everything. But yeah, as a child, you don't appreciate how different it is to throw objects that are weighted in certain ways. So she's been throwing mugs and apples and rocks and shit, and she's just like, ooh, that felt real different.
It like lands hilt first and like bounces off of the guy. He never even notices it. So, and then at one point, I think one of them separates and kind of like goes after her.
I'm trying to find the way this goes. So, Arya grabbed the stone flagon with two hands, but as she lifted it, someone grabbed her arm. She found herself nose to nose with the squire. You stupid. You forgot all about him.
Right. Okay. It's him.
Yeah.
And he says to her, are you the puppy's puppy? ugh.
He just keeps talking about puppies like he didn't just start a fight with this man. Like, have you learned nothing? He hasn't.
Nothing.
He hasn't.
I mean, you're just the squire, barely, probably.
Who are you?
And he has his arms like on her arm, but her hands are actually free, which doesn't seem very smart. And maybe if you paid more attention, you would know better, sir. But so she's able, right? So she just stabs him in the belly with his own knife because her fucking hands are free.
So embarrassing.
Listen, sir, I need you to pay more attention in class. So she gets him down and then turns back around and sees that the hound has been kind of cornered by these other two men. And they really think that they've got it. And they're just like, throw down your sword. We'll take you back to Harrenhal. And the hound is like, yeah, we're not doing that. And when it feels like this is like it, like he doesn't have any other move to make, he does this thing where he like kicks the bench and it goes up and smacks one of them. I think it's Polliver, and distracts him enough. The hound moves out of the way and then does like this backward slash. And when you look up, half of his fucking face is gone. So that takes care of Polliver. So the other one, who has just seen this horrible thing happen, decides that he has made a series of bad choices and wants out.
Does not decide soon enough. He has to watch a man lose half his skull before he's like, maybe I should reconsider. Get a hold of yourself.
It says Arya could smell his fear, which I'm just like, oh, he shit his pants. I mean, I'm not sure if that's exactly what they mean, but that's what I took from it.
Oh, God.
And he's like kind of trying to situate himself to face the hound, and all she had to do was step up behind him and stab him because he never even sees her. He's so focused on the hound.
Yep.
And she jumps up, shoves this blade in his back, and this is when she starts like losing, like a little bit of losing her shit, right?
Yep.
She starts screaming at him all these questions. Is there silver? Are there gems? Is there food? Where's Lord Beric? Where did Beric go? How many men are with him? How many knights? How many bowmen? How many is there gold in the village? Like, she's just fucking going off. And it's all these questions I feel like she's heard her various captors ask over this time she's been on the road.
Yep, definitely.
And it just all comes spilling out of her to the point where she is covered in blood and the hound has to drag her off of this man's body.
There's a point earlier, I'm going to go back and find it, because she has recognized them immediately, right? And when she knows who they are, the whole vibe of everything takes on a different tone because she is aware of just how dangerous they are, like immediately, which there is a part where I'm trying to find the spot where he does, I can't find it, but the tickler asks a simple question and Arya feels herself grow cold at the mere fact that he's asking a question, because that's what he did. He was the questioner. So all he has to do is say something with the inflection of a question mark at the end. And that is enough to kind of make her seize up a little bit for a moment, Right. And that really got to me because it's the sort of thing that, like, when you think about something being triggering because of a trauma, you usually think of a sort of major part of it. And this tiny thing, he asked a question that wasn't delivered in anger. It wasn't delivered in violence. It wasn't a question that was particularly significant. It was just a question. And that is enough to get her stopping and going, oh God.
There's a moment early when the hound says to one of the guys, either the tickler or whoever, says something to like the innkeep about paying when we're done. And the hound is like, no, when you're done drinking, you're just going to tickle to see where he keeps all his gold the way you always do.
Yep.
And Arya is watching this, and she thinks to herself, because when they come into the inn, there's other customers, like there's like women there, you know, being all felt up and shit. And in this moment, she notices that the locals are fucking leaving. The girls have bounced, and she thinks to herself, we should fucking go too. We need to get out of here. Yeah, I wish I could find a part where.
Oh, here we go.
You found it?
When he says, he asks about, are there ships at the salt pans? Salt pans? How should I know? The traders are back at Maidenpool, I heard. The tickler leaned forward. Would you put to sea without bidding farewell to your brother? It gave Arya chills to hear him ask a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole bit. And then what was the part that you were talking about that you were trying to find?
Oh no, I had read it already.
Okay.
It's just a little bit when they're talking about paying for their drinks.
Right.
And everybody in the end realizes this whole situation is about to go left, and they have all bounced.
Which, thank God, I appreciate the Hound for fucking warning them in a sense, honestly, because I was just like, the knowledge of how things have gone for every fucking innkeep. You know what I'm saying? Like, we have not met a single innkeep for whom things seem to work out well.
Yeah. Like, you open your doors to these fucking high lords, and you get nothing but fucking trouble.
Yep.
You know, you get nothing but trouble. No matter what it is you do or you don't do, you know, shit that's not even your fucking fault. You know, like with the last innkeep, you know, and Tywin holding her responsible. I wouldn't let none of these motherfuckers come into my shit. I am closed.
Exactly. So I just personally am like, I was already scared for these guys and was surprised that, like, when Arya and the Hound come in, there isn't already a rape happening or something, you know? There's a guy with a hand down a girl's dress, which I'm going to go ahead and guess is not voluntary and consenting, but it isn't what it could have been. And then I'm like, oh, that's just for later that they'll do that part.
Yeah, when the kid is begging for his life, and he's talking about the one that was talking all that shit. He's like, I only came for the women. You know, I only came for the girls. I didn't come for all this.
Well, then why didn't you keep your fucking mouth shut? I only came for the girls, but you're all like, oh, I'm not afraid of the puppy.
Right.
To this man, he is 7 feet tall. I just can't.
He just, what is the expression they use in the books? He's in his cups.
There you go. Yes, that's the one.
So yeah, she reminds the Hound that there actually is one more left, this squire, and he is laying on the floor where she stabbed him in the belly, and he's bleeding out.
Yep.
You know, he's bleeding out, and he's begging for his life, begging for mercy, begging for them to fucking take him to a doctor. Like, that's gonna fucking happen.
Take me to a castle. Get out of here. Who are you?
And she oh well, I guess we should mention it. I'm trying to see, where is it? Oh. The Hound tells her that she should be the one to put this kid out of his misery. And she goes over to Polliver and takes the needle back.
Yes.
Which I had forgotten he had it. So this was fantastic. Yep. I was like, you know, oh, this is outstanding. I forgot about this little bit. So that was a fun little, like, surprise. Even though, you know, I knew it, but I didn't know it. So I count it as a surprise.
That's fair.
And she takes care of him, and then kills the kid. And this is when he tells her that they're going to go to Salt Pans because he thinks that they can get to the Vale by sea. And but he's fucked up. Yeah. He's much more fucked up than he's letting on, to the point she has to help him out of the inn and help him get back onto the horse. And he instructs her how to tend to his wounds, which involves boiling wine and then pouring it directly into the wound.
Literally kill me. Just let me die.
Not a huge fan of this treatment. I get, you know, they're on the road. Resources are minimal. You have to make do. But I mean, people. Isn't there like a plant or an herb you could have found? I feel like we didn't exhaust all of our options before we went straight to boiling wine poured directly into a knife wound. But
God, I just keep like trying not to think about it, and then it makes me think about it more, and then I just lose it. Okay. Sorry.
There was I don't want to spoil anybody, but I've been watching The Last of Us, and there is a moment in one of the episodes where someone is tending to a wound,
Mm-hmm.
and I watched that shit between like my fingers. It wasn't like particularly scary or, you know, graphic or anything, but I was just like, oh my God, no, no.
Oh God, I have a very like weak stomach when it comes to certain things, and I just have to tap out.
Yeah,
Thanks,
this
but
is
no.
this is yeah, and I knew like this is probably had to happen this way, but you know they need antiseptic or you know what I mean. You got to clean the wound
Yep.
and all that jazz, but again, there was no aloe nowhere nearby. Like,
Aloe.
was there something like some mold, some like some penicillin? It's like,
Well, I guess actually there's a point at which Eamon is talking about packing a wound with moldy bread.
yeah,
No, it's
yeah.
not Eamon. It's down in the Capitol when they're dealing with Gregor being injured. And it's that maester whose name I can't remember. Is it
that-
Pycelle who's talking about it, or is it the other guy?
Is it Quarrel? Not Quarrel. What's his
Quirrell?
name? But it starts with a Q. Don't laugh at me.
Kyburn.
Kyburn. There it is.
Oh man, is it Quirrell?
Listen, there's like 3 things that start with a Q that could be a name, and neither of those are real names. So, quite frankly, in my defense,
Look, I'm not mad at it. It's just I wasn't ready for it. That's all I'm saying.
So, and then he has Arya like bind him up with some rags soaked in the boiling wine to cover up his wounds and hoping for the best.
Yep.
And then the next day they wake up the next day and the best does not happen.
It hasn't.
He is in bad shape.
Yeah.
It's real bad. He's got a fever. He's like barely conscious. It's no good. It's no good. And she starts thinking, oh, the first night too, after they go to bed and she like done like tending to his wounds and shit,
Mhm.
she starts to say her little list.
Yeah.
Her murder list, which I feel like we haven't heard this in a minute. And she says, you know, it feels weird that she's got like some names off the list now. You know?
It's weird because
a little
she's
bit
just so
shorter.
used to like a certain rhythm.
Mhm.
And now, yeah.
And then she realizes not only does she take off the people that are dead, Polliver and Tickler and Joffrey, but she doesn't include the Hound.
Right. I forgot.
She's like, what the fuck is that about? Like, I left his name off. Why? And then she tries to make herself sort of relive the fury that she has and the rage she has over Micah, and realizes she can barely picture this fucking kid anymore.
Yeah.
And the reality that she didn't really know him. She knew him for like 5 minutes and they played a game together. You know, and that's all she says. She doesn't really like, it's not a moment of being like, it's not that he doesn't deserve revenge because I didn't know him well, but just sort of a recognition of how something that had meant so much to her at one point has faded away in a way she didn't even realize because she hasn't really been thinking about it. At one point, fucking the Hound calls him Michael when he's begging her to kill him.
I forgot about
There's
I just read this and there's so many little bits that you're mentioning here and I'm like, oh yeah, missed that. The one thing that I wanted to mention too is that when she hears that Joffrey's dead, she expects that to make her happier than it does.
Right.
And is
that's
really
right.
startled at the fact that like she doesn't feel what she expected to feel upon hearing that news.
Right. It's just like I don't know. She says that she's glad that that Joffrey's dead. Wish she could have been there to watch him die, or maybe killing him herself would have also been cool. And then she thinks about the fact that Polliver claims that Sansa is the one who killed him, and she starts to think like, really, could that be true? And it's an incomplete thought, you know. She did, because she ends up just going to the, I wish I could change into a wolf and fly away. And then the reality of that, if Sansa was now gone, there are no more Starks but her.
Yeah.
She counts Jon, but he's a Snow. And there's aunts and uncles, but they aren't Starks either. They weren't wolves. So to her mind, it is just her now. And I think it's been a minute since I thought about how Arya feels about being alone in the world. I think oh, hello?
Hello.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'm just letting you have your thought.
But like we talk a lot about Sansa being really alone, even though she was constantly surrounded by people and literally never got a moment to herself. We talk about how isolated she is. But having this moment to think about Arya and how completely alone in the world she is.
Yeah.
Now, and has been, but really, you know, she's been on the move so much, you know, and her chapters have been so filled with all these like really dangerous men, like doing despicable things, that I don't think I gave as much thought to the sort of emotional side of it when it comes to Arya, because everything has just been so action oriented.
Yeah.
So I really appreciated this moment of her just being like, fuck. It's literally just me now. And then she starts thinking about the Hound. And I think this is kind of when she's just like, you know what? Maybe he'll be dead by morning and I won't have to kill him. Because she's that murderous rage that she had for him is gone now. Whether she likes it or not, it is gone now for reasons she doesn't even fully really articulate in this moment.
Exactly.
But it's definitely gone.
And part of me wonders if, like, realizing she's not as happy about Joffrey's death as she thought she would have been, and then killing Polliver and perhaps not feeling what she thought she would feel then either, if maybe she's like beginning to put it together that rage killing isn't actually that satisfying, even if it sounds like the exact thing the doctor ordered in your head.
Yeah. And she ends up putting the Hound back on her list.
That's why I had forgotten, because he goes back on there.
But it goes on with kind of like, she says his name, and she says the Valar Morghulis, and then she says maybe he be dead by morning. So the next morning he's not doing great. He's in really bad shape. She tries to give him some water. She tries to get like a little better idea of where they were heading, how far the salt pans were from where they are now, whether she can make this trip on her own, you know?
Yeah.
And thinks to herself, you know, I don't have to kill him. I can just leave him here. He'll die of the fever. You know, he'll lay there beneath that tree. And, you know, that'll be it. It'll be done. And then she thinks, well, maybe better if I killed him myself. I did just kill that squire.
Yeah, her hands aren't exactly clean. Like, at this point, who cares?
Yeah, she's really going back and forth about what she should do with the Hound. You know, whether she needs to be the one to kill him, whether it's okay to leave him on his own to die. And she's kind of like trying to justify at least one of those things so she can make a decision. And she's just kind of going back and forth. And then she pulls Needle out, I think.
Yeah.
And is like kind of near him, and he opens his eyes.
I love this. He's like, go ahead and do it. And she's like, well, I wasn't. He's like, shut the fuck up, you weren't.
Right.
Get out of here. You're standing over me, wheezing with my eyes closed, holding your sword in your hand. I'm not a fucking idiot.
Right. He's like, I fucking hate liars. And this is when he fucking says, Michael, avenge your little Michael.
The fact that he doesn't even get his name right. I know that's not on purpose, but it really, I think I've told you about that thing with Ron Swanson in Parks and Rec where he occasionally gets people's names wrong on purpose just in case they think they're getting too chummy with him. And it really felt like he's obviously trying to bait her anyway,
Yes.
but
Yes.
it felt like that's excellent extra baiting. And I know that wasn't even on purpose. So wow, that's high skill.
Right. And it like, it really should have worked.
Mm-hmm.
But it ends up having the opposite effect because it pisses her off so much. She says, "You don't deserve mercy." Yeah. And she fucking saddles up the horse and he yells out after her, a real wolf would have finished the job or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And she says back to him, "You shouldn't have hit me with an axe. You should have saved my mother." And then she just fucking rides away and never looks back.
Yep.
And thinks to herself, well, maybe the fucking wolves will find you.
I love that. A real wolf would do it. Maybe you'll meet a real wolf. How about that?
I really wish she had said that part out loud. Maybe you'll meet a real one. And she just leaves them fucking bleeding out. And starts on her journey alone. And we don't get much of it. She makes it to the salt pans in like a week or whatever. We don't really like get a whole blow by blow of her travels.
Right.
And she shows up in this little place and realizes that she doesn't really have any money. All the money that they took off the bodies at the end, the hound took.
I really wish she had thought about that.
Listen,
it's right there.
Same.
Ugh.
I mean, I don't know.
This is amateur hour.
Like
you should know this better by now.
Like if for nothing else, she could have just killed a hound just to rob him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know. He was in bad shape. I don't know if she would have been able to run his pockets. He's so, if he was that weak that she would have been able to get away with it. I don't feel like
he'd stop her.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I really don't know. I don't know if he would just lay there. Maybe if he thought she was really going to kill him, he would. Like, if she ran his pockets and was like, and I'll stab you when I'm done, he probably would have just laid there. But either way, she doesn't. And so she shows up. And she's got no money.
No money.
Yeah, it wasn't a great plan.
And she meets this lady who she's like, oh, I get a good vibe off her. And the lady is like, oh, that's interesting because I'm going to rob you, basically. You're going to get what the fuck I give you for this horse. And if you try anything, I'm going to report you and you will probably
I'm going to call the cops.
So,
yep. I'm going to accuse you of stealing this horse from some person.
Real Karen behavior.
It really is. It really, really is. And she makes her way to one of the ships and is trying to like buy passage. And she does not have enough money to go anywhere on this ship. And she's trying to like barter. I'll clean. I'll cook. I have experience scrubbing decks and stairs. And he's just like, no, you can't. You cannot come here. And even if you could, we're not going that way.
Yeah, that's the big thing. She's like, well, take me up to the
wall.
Yeah, and he's like, oh, first of all, you have no money. But second of all, even if you had the money, we don't go there. There's nothing for us up there. We've run into pirates and shit already. We're tired. We're going home.
And she is like really broken at this moment, like doesn't know what else to do. Like, where is she gonna go? I have no home, I have no pack, and now I don't even have a horse. And then she thinks to ask the captain before she walks away completely is what ship was this, and where is it going or whatever. And he tells her the name, which is the Titan's daughter, and it's going back to Bravos. And that is the light bulb moment. She remembers this fucking token that she has, that she's been carrying around for, I don't know, 3-4 books?
Yeah, at this point it'd be, probably at this point it's like a book and a half, really.
Yeah, because she only got it in Harrenhal. Yeah. But still, it feels like it's been a minute. And he doesn't know what she's grabbing. And he's just like, one more piece of silver is not going to do it, dear. Like, I
love it, too. That it's like in her underwear and she has to dig deep for it is the way it's described. And I'm just imagining her up to her elbow in her own underwear being like, hold on, I have something else. And everybody being like, what the fuck? Is she going to just pull shit out and like fling it at you? Like, what is about to happen? Because there are people watching and just laughing.
Yeah,
and this
they're
guy's
laughing
getting
at
pretty
her.
impatient. Yeah.
And then she pulls it out she has no idea the value of this thing, and she even thinks to herself, "This is probably fucking worthless, but like it's literally all I have, so I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna see what the fuck happens." And she hands him this coin, and he does not know what the fuck. He knows what it is, but cannot wrap his head around why this little child is handing it to him here of all places.
Yeah,
like how the fuck did you get this? And she says the words. He replies in kind. And says, "Of course, you shall have a cabin." So that's letting us know that this little token, this coin, is serious business.
yeah. She isn't just being allowed to sleep like down in the.
Yeah, no, yeah. She's not coming on to do work or anything. She's getting a fucking cabin.
Mm-hmm.
So if we weren't sure what exactly was going on with this thing, we know now it's something to take serious.
If you don't know, now you know.
So she's on her way to Bravos.
Da-da-da.
The hound is under a tree somewhere, bleeding out. and I'm trying to remember. On the show, do we see him after he goes over the cliff on the show? Or was that the end of him? I feel like that's not. Is that the end of him?
And according to the notes from Austin, he goes over the cliff, and then Arya goes and like looks at. I think he says, "Let's see, the hound is knocked off a cliff by Brienne, and Arya leaves him dying from those wounds." So I think that Arya goes and sees him after his injury from the cliff, and we see that he's like still alive, but she leaves him to die, and that's it ends up being a similar choice.
Okay. But does he die, though? That's what I'm asking. Does he really die?
Oh, I see what the real question is. I see.
You're
I'm not answering it. I just didn't get what you were really asking me.
I feel like he comes back, but I can't remember in what capacity. And everything is out of order. Like the thing with him and the... All right, I'm not gonna keep you guys while I try to remember that shit. It's fine. It's fine. All right, so then we go to Samwell's chapter, which I feel like I talked about a lot at the beginning, so I don't need to rehash most of my feelings about that.
Mm-hmm. She doesn't need to. She wants to. She's doing it in her head.
Yeah, she's not gonna, though. She's not gonna.
Yeah.
So he's back. Most people are very happy to see him.
Mm-hmm.
I still resent missing the actual moment where they see Sam.
Yeah, I agree.
Hate that I was robbed of that.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
But we find out that most people are really happy to see him. They greet him. Sam the Slayer is back. They can't believe he survived on his own and that he managed to save both himself and Gilly and a baby. And
badass behavior.
It's been some time since we last were at the wall. Like the last thing we saw was Stannis showing up while Jon is out with Mance.
Mm-hmm.
And Jon goes back into the tent where Mance's girl is having the baby.
Yeah.
And that's how that chapter ends. So now this baby is nursing. They are at Castle Black. We find out that Mance was actually captured and is being held captive by Stannis. And there's this thing happening at the Night's Watch where they are trying to elect a new Lord Commander.
Yeah.
But we don't know why exactly. Like, Janis Slynt had kind of announced that he was new commander. But at some point, people were like, nah, we need to have a vote.
I do really enjoy that he thought he could just swan in and say a thing was true and that nobody would ever push back on that.
So I'm really I'm bummed out that I don't know. Because the last time we saw him, there was no pushback. Mm-hmm. Like he was gonna he locked Jon up. Nobody was saying shit about it.
Yeah. Forced
Jon to go out to the wildlings and talk to Mance. Nobody was saying shit about it. Maester Aemon was trying, but they really weren't listening to him. So I want to know what happened.
What happened? Sure, what did I miss? This out, but I'm gonna hazard a guess here. This is an informed guess. He tried to come up and say how it was going to be, And then Stannis rolls in.
Stannis shows up with all his people, and he's like, "You don't get to announce that you're just in charge."
I just like that. Like, what happened to the previous Lord Commander? And are you the Lord Commander? Well. No, not exactly. I am. All right. Well, who's Lord Commander? Well, we don't have one. Well, what do you do to get one? And he just asks very direct questions with a very final sort of tone. And they realize, oh, I guess we have to follow the rules after all. Like, you know what I mean?
That checks. So
it just feels like the way it would go.
And this fucking choosing ceremony is going on. Like, it's dragging on. It's been days at this point.
Which is apparently not that long.
Listen, somebody at some point was like, there was once one that took 2 years, and I really need y'all to calm down.
Can you imagine?
It feels like that's what our shit is now, quite frankly. You know, like, I feel like we exist eternally in election season in this country. I mean, it's been like that for a while, but it's really pointed, in my opinion, now. Everything that is said, that is done, is some type of gesture that they hope pays dividends when it's time to, like, run your election. You know what I mean? It just feels, that's all it feels like.
Yep.
It doesn't feel like anybody's actually doing anything helpful.
I just like lowered my head in a feeling of like discouragement and realized that I hit my mic with my glasses.
Whoops.
So apologies to everybody for that sad bump that just happened.
Like,
that was.
Yeah, it's you know, we had talked about this, and I had been really removed from keeping my finger on the pulse of all the terrible shit that's going on in the world. Because it was too much, and it had been it felt like 100 years, even though it's only been like 2014. It's come like 9 years. These last 9 years have felt like 100 years. And I couldn't do it anymore. And I have started paying a little bit more attention. I still can't listen to actual news. I can't listen to people, but I can read.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it's like I closed my eyes for a second and everything got 400 times worse. I just can't believe we are where we are right now regarding almost every issue across the board. It is staggering. So I forget what my point is about that. Why? Oh, the politics of the wall and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's where I went. But so this 2 years choosing is like the record. But our guys are only on like day 7, day 10 maybe. And I do enjoy that Janice Slint is not doing great.
Yeah. He's really struggling to get the support that he seemed to think he was definitely gonna get.
I love the end of this chapter, like Dolores Ed has like 2 votes.
Dolores Ed threw his hat in the ring for no reason other than to be able to shoot his fucking mouth off. That's my personal view. He doesn't care about this.
When it's time to make his speech, he says something. What the fuck does he say?
He's basically like, I know that you guys think that I wouldn't be that good at this, but neither would they, so.
Right?
Whatever. That's like the basics of it. And apparently Alistair had also thrown his hat in, and he literally got fewer votes as time went.
And so he decides he withdraws, and then like to save face, he's like, I'm withdrawing to support the best candidate, you know.
Sure.
So a lot of this is Sam sort of like getting caught up to what has been going on at the wall while he was away, and how much he just doesn't know. And also a chance for us to kind of figure out what's going on with Stannis, right? So we find out that for this attack, he doesn't make the same mistake he made at the Blackwater. He brings Melisandre with him on this bitch.
Yep.
And has some success.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it's fair to give her credit, but I'm sure she took it.
Oh, I bet she did. There's some mention as well about the about the fact that he burned somebody before the trip. And in the notes from Austin, that was Alistair Florent, the man who was in a cell next to Davos.
Shit.
Yep.
Were we supposed to know that?
I don't think it's said here, but it's not particularly of consequence to know. It's just a little bit of flavor.
Yeah. Well, and because it's not named, I was wondering if I was supposed to be concerned for Davos, because it's like, oh, they said they burned a man. And
but it never even occurred to me to be concerned for Davos.
But I wasn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't concerned for him either. But because it's so vague, I was just like, I wonder if I'm supposed to be worried about Davos. Because ain't nobody worried about Davos. He fine.
Yeah, this whole thing was his idea,
right? So I don't know. I just thought it was weird that I guess it makes sense that the rumor, they wouldn't know who it was, and that's why it's just like, oh, they say she burned a man alive. So it's interesting to me to find out that it's actually somebody we knew. Because once I was like, well, I know it's not supposed to be Davos. I guess it doesn't matter who it was. I was expecting for it to just literally be some rando. So to find out it's actually somebody we knew is really surprising to me.
Somebody that we knew, and somebody that Davos actively was like, hey, man, you may want to fucking shut up. Because you are really underestimating what he's going to do. And that man seemed unconcerned. Very confident that he was going to be fine.
Yeah. That's fucked up too, because that was his wife's. Or how was his wife? They were related.
I don't know if it was a cousin or a brother. I don't know. I doubt it's a brother, but
it was some family, right?
And apparently, this is. Let's see. Oh, Austin says that was Alistair Florent, the man who was in a cell next to Davos. And also Sam's grandfather.
Oh.
Is he? Is that right? I didn't think he was that old.
Is Sam's mom a Florent? I guess that would have to be.
I guess she must.
Did we learn that? Interesting. I guess that might just be stuff from, like, I know there's like all these different like supplemental materials for this world and family trees and all kinds of shit like that never actually make it into like the proper text.
Yeah.
So it might just be like, my memory is nothing to bank on, but I don't remember ever hearing that.
His wife, Lady Melissa Florent, is his mother's. Yeah. So I was picturing Alistair Florent being a lot younger than he was apparently. Okay.
Well, he gone now.
He gone.
And then Sam is also noticing that John has like a deep sadness around him, and somebody has filled him in about grief, because Sam is he's still grieving for his girl. There was one other thing I wanted to mention too. Where is it? Or maybe we haven't gotten to it yet. But where is it?
Oh my God.
Oh, here it is. Wait, what? Sorry.
I just hate when you just like ramble to yourself. And
I'm just trying to find it.
Let me write this down. You've got to start highlighting things so that we don't do this.
Sorry.
Okay, did you find it?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So he gets the news about what happened with John and what John accomplished while he was gone. And he says that John had done more than well for himself, to hear Grin tell it. Capturing the Horn of Winter and a wildling prince had not been enough for Sir Alistair Thorne and his friends, who still named him a Turncloak. So Sam comes back. All of this shit has happened. These battles that John, basically won for the Night's Watch, and if we want to be like real about it. And he still is being treated like a fucking double agent spy who can't be trusted. Mm-hmm. But he's not like captive anymore. So John is just trying to like live a normal, quiet life now. Best I can tell, he's not interested in having the position of Lord Commander. He doesn't even vote in this last round.
Yeah.
He's kind of got a little bit of a sad sack. situation going on.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the John that Sam comes back to. And he just, I don't know, he feels like so sad for John and also like wanting to like bolster his ego up a little bit, like make him feel better.
Yep. Yeah, very much so. It feels like he keeps on thinking about John being still in the midst of grieving for Ygritte as well, which Sam just sort of puts himself in the shoes of losing Gilly. You know, I appreciate that he has some perspective on that, considering that Gilly, not technically a wildling, but like as good as in the eyes of probably most people of Westeros, or maybe even worse, being the product of incest, you know, God knows. But yeah, that and just everything that's gone down at the Night's Watch and how clearly John's outlook has had to shift dramatically with everything.
Yeah. And it just, I don't know, John is, poor John. One of the woman, what's her name? Val wants to see Mance. And just wants him to see his baby before he dies, basically is what she says.
Yeah.
And John is so tired this whole chapter.
Yeah, that is the mood.
Every description of him, John wearily says this. John sighs heavily. John gave a tired glance. You know, so he's trying to explain to this woman that Mance is a deserter and that the fucking penalty for that is death. And the only reason he's not dead right now is because Stannis is here. And it's up to him to like lay out the punishment.
Yeah.
And then John says, if it were in my power, Mance could hold his son. But John's smile was gone. And just says, I'm sorry, Val. And he turns and walks away. It's just, I don't know. It's Sam's chapter, but it's just littered with a really defeated Jon Snow. And it's really sad.
Yeah. It's interesting because before, John was the one who was sort of helping to perk up Sam. And now it feels clearly like Sam is like, it's time for some payback. I'll help him.
Right.
And I'm just like, what are you gonna do there, buddy?
You're gonna try. What can you
doing? Just, you know, for instance, maybe you want to run it past a couple people here before you do anything.
And then there's Sam confides his plan for Gilly. Because she can't stay with him. And that's the other thing John has to break. John is just like giving people bad news also.
Yeah.
Like people want things that are not possible. And John has to be like, that's not possible. Val, you can't go see Mance. Sam, you can't keep Gilly here. Like he's just like fucking telling people what they can't do. But not in like a mean way, but kind of almost like, look, we all want shit, but we don't get what we want. You know? So this is when Sam tells John his plan about lying to his family so that they will take Gilly and the baby in. Also, I didn't even realize this fucking baby didn't have a name.
Yeah.
Until they actually point out that Mance's baby doesn't have a name either, which is their custom. They wait for like 3 years before they name the baby. They just never got around to naming Gilly's baby.
They apparently it's like a thing where it's bad luck. It's considered bad luck to name a kid before the age of 2. And
for everybody?
I feel like it's mentioned with Craster's wives, at least at one point.
Oh, okay.
And you know, it's just that their mortality is so high that you don't want to name and give and get attached, because as long as you don't name it, you won't mind if your baby dies.
I guess that doesn't seem right. That math doesn't math.
I like the idea that it's more just like, well, you know, I have a couple names I really like, and I'm not going to.
I don't want to waste the name.
I know that's fucked up, but you know,
dear,
names are hard.
Oh dear,
difficult.
Difficult
Listen, stuff.
In this universe, people be using the same name like 12 times. That's no excuse. That is
true.
No excuse. So the plan is write a letter to his mom and dad, claim that he has gotten Gilly pregnant and that this is his son. And Sam is hoping that his father, who we know has no respect for him, will be at least proud that Sam was able to knock a girl up, and will take some minor satisfaction in that. And that will allow his father to sort of say the okay. Sam's pretty sure his mother would not need convincing, and thinks that his father would be so relieved that he got somebody pregnant that he would let them get away with this and let Gilly come live with them, possibly work, and give like this boy a place in their household. Mm-hmm. And Sam is like, first of all, John says, "You can't lie. You're a terrible liar."
I really appreciate that. He says you weren't made to lie, which is my favorite way of saying things. It's just like, babe, you weren't built for this. No.
He says something like you get all squeaky and stammery or some shit. But to his credit, Sam is like, well, yeah, in person, but you should see me with a pen in my hand.
I could say whatever. He's like the media. Am I right?
I love how
MSM, that's what they say these days, isn't it?
Well, the evil mainstream media.
Yeah.
I love how confident he is about what a pen in his hand, though.
Same.
So let's see what else. There's most of this is really
I want your opinion on whether you think that would work.
The lie?
Yeah.
It's a good question because this universe, right, that these people are in, we had a conversation earlier. We know that bastards born to noble men, highborn men, nobody bats an eye at that. Mm-hmm. It's not like a big deal. It's just almost expected.
Yeah.
So the most upsetting thing about this would be, I guess, if his father gave a fuck about the vows that the Night's Watch take. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Because if Sam really knocks Gilly up, then he's an oath breaker, right? I don't know enough about Sam's father to determine whether he would care about that or not. Yeah. Because that to me would be like the biggest insult. Because I don't think he would care that his son knocked somebody up and had a bastard. But would he care that his son sort of dishonored himself on the wall?
And I really feel like how much he cares completely depends on who's doing it. And he doesn't like Sam already and is ashamed of him already.
Right.
So a part of me feels like he's going to just be primed to take this the worst way possible.
Right. Like this is just another example of Sam bringing shame on their house.
Yeah.
Right. Like what's the brother's name? Is it Dickon?
Yeah.
Like if he brings a bastard home, that's like no big deal.
Right.
But also the quality of the woman too, which sounds really gross, and I hate that I even said that out loud. I hope I never have to say it again. But his family, if they know what Gilly is, where she comes from, I feel like Sam has to lie about that too. If he's going to lie, that's got to be part of the lie.
I feel like it has to be, but I'm also like, I don't trust Gilly to not blurt something out.
That's like, right. You got to make her a fucking washerwoman in the village closest to the wall or some shit. Mm-hmm. Like she can't be a prostitute. You don't want to tell your father you knocked up a whore. Can't do that.
Right.
She definitely can't be one of Craster's wives. So he's got to come up with a whole backstory and then hope she can fucking play the part, which is up in the air.
Yeah, very much so.
As far as I am concerned. Doesn't John even say something like that? Like, you better hope Gilly can keep her story straight.
I think he does, yeah. Because John's always thinking at this point. He sees the seams. It is really funny, too. Like, I appreciate Austin mentioning this in the notes, that the fact that Sam is talking to John about whether he can lie and pass off this kid as his bastard. Mm-hmm. And that's what happened to John.
Oh, God.
But John does not know that.
Oh, God. Holy fuck. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
That's really funny. I was thinking about him asking about the lie. The only thing I thought about is because John had to lie the whole time he was like undercover. Mm-hmm. because he's asking John, like, is it okay to lie if the lie is for a good purpose? So Sam is having like this moral crisis, and I thought it was weird to ask because John just spent a bunch of time doing exactly that. So of course he just lived that. But the thing about pretending that a bastard is yours and asking John about that, I'd never even made that connection. That's really funny.
Yeah. Indeed. So this, I also want to mention the notes from Austin. He points out about how electing the Lord Commander is just completely simplified in the show. There is no ongoing repeated vote like this. I believe it's just the one.
I don't even remember.
Yeah. So
also there are, it's not a big deal is made of it, but these wildlings that are at the castle, like, they're not all captives, right?
I'm not sure.
Like, Val seems to be like moving freely as far as I can tell, or at least Gilly is down where Val is if she's not free. There's a mention of how like bustling the wall is, like how many people are here. So, and also that John has that horn. So I don't understand. Like, are the wildlings are they just like passing through like they had wanted to do?
That's a good question.
I'll have to come back to that.
Also, we find out, and I don't recall if this is true in the show, Sam has promised not to tell John that Bran is alive.
Yep.
And it's like killing him.
Yeah.
He wants to so bad.
Yep.
But he's made his promise and he's going to stick to that promise.
Yeah, he promised fucking cold hands, and he was very, very specific about it. There's like no, he didn't leave any like wiggle room. There's like no loophole.
There's something about the way you said Cold Hands' name that it really felt like, fuck that guy.
I didn't mean it like that.
I just really like, he promised Cold Hands.
He like really locks Sam into this promise. I wish I could find the page it's on because it's pretty like, again, I feel like it was a threat of violence at the end of the promise, but I'm not sure. I might be making that up. But the tone of it was like, yeah, that's a promise you're not going to break.
Let's see. Let his bones lie undisturbed. We want no seekers coming after us. Swear it, Samwell of the Night's Watch. Swear it for the life you owe me.
There it is.
Yeah.
The life you owe me. That's some like, I saved your fucking life. You better not. So let's see what else we got. Oh my God.
What?
This what everyone knows is that Sir Alistair is a knight from a noble line and true born, while I'm the bastard who killed Corn Halfhand and bedded with a spear wife. This is John talking. I don't even dream of ghosts anymore. All my dreams are of the crypts of the stone kings on their thrones. Sometimes I hear Rob's voice and my father's as if they're at a feast, but there's a wall between us. John is having a hard time, y'all.
Yeah, he is.
He is having a real hard time.
He has really been put through it.
Yep.
Like, talk about just barely getting by the skin of your teeth. It's just been one crisis after another for him. And it's remarkable because you would really think that compared to everybody, he'd be in a pretty stable place, having been put up here and watching everything that's gone on. It's just one scrape after another. And that's close shave.
And that's what makes Sam having to keep the secret about Bran so heartbreaking, because if there was anybody who needed a sliver of good news, it's John right in this moment.
Yeah.
And Sam cannot give it to him. And that's just, it's so hard to watch.
I don't like, this is what I'm saying, where I'm like, I don't know about keeping promises like this. The whole like, let his bones lie. Why?
It says that 3 times he had to swear to keep the secret. He had to promise Bran, he had to promise Jojen, and then he had to promise Conan.
Just tell only John and make sure that nobody else knows and nobody else is let in on it. Just John, because he's the only person that it would really matter to in a psychological way.
Yeah.
And then you're good. But
Yeah.
no. And I'm just like, this is why I don't like
it seems
these kinds of
unnecessarily cruel.
It does.
You
I
know?
just don't really understand what it is they're worried about if John finds out, because I feel like it's very easy to say, can I only tell John and John alone?
Yeah.
You
like,
know?
why couldn't you have that conversation?
Maybe they're like worried that John would try to come after them and find Bran, but I just don't think that's
I don't think John
how
would,
he would
because
react at all.
I don't either, because there's been multiple times where John has wanted to rush off, and his oath to the Watch, he's always upheld that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I think that if anything, John has earned the right to hear this.
Yeah.
You know? But yeah, no, they all three of them decided that for whatever reason, John absolutely cannot know about this. Maybe we'll get a Bran. Oh, I'm sorry, I hit the mic. Maybe we'll get a Bran chapter where we get a sort of like rehash of these moments,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe they'll explain it to me in a way that makes sense, because right now it doesn't feel like it makes much sense. Yeah.
Yeah. I just feel a way about it. That's all I'm saying. Always take issue with promises where I don't really understand explicitly why they're made, and it feels like a lot could be avoided. And that's not even necessarily the case here, that a lot could be avoided, but like it would just make John feel better. It would be a small thing to cling to. So I just don't really understand it, and I don't feel like a good enough case is made for why this is so important to keep.
Yeah. And that's what I mean when I say maybe in a Bran chapter, I was hoping, but now listening to you, it feels like, no, they never do give a good reason.
Well, to be honest, I haven't reread these in a while, so it's possible, but I don't remember.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'm just kind of going with what I've got in my face at the moment.
Gotcha.
That's what he said. Oh.
Ma'am.
I'm sorry, everybody, but also I'm not sorry, and you're welcome. So then we have the more discussion of the election process and the ways that all of this. I love Dolorous Ed talking about Watt and how he's got good luck and fell and hit water, and Gren's like, oh, did the water save his life? No, he was dead already from that axe in his head. Still, it was pretty lucky missing the rock. Fucking Ed, who are you, sir? There's a moment too where the cook has made like this roast mammoth, and Sam is thinking, why are people voting for him? And then he's like, maybe because I just want him to not make our food anymore. It's really bad.
Also, like, he only has 3 fingers, right?
3-finger Hob. And Owen the Oaf. Really, sir, calm down. 203 for Sir Dennis Mallister, 169 for Cotter Pike, 137 for Janos Slint, 72 for Awful Yarwick, 5 for 3-finger Hob, and 2 for Dolorous Ed.
There's a mix-up because Sam is counting, and then this other guy is counting, this Clytus guy, are both doing their individual counts, and he says, I got 168 for Pike. And we're 2 votes short, and 1 by Sam's. And then Maester Aemon is like, Sam is right, because John did not cast a token. And they just drop it.
Drop it.
They just drop it and walk away.
I love Maester Aemon just being like, bitch, shut up. Sam knows how to count, and you don't. Right. That's the end of this conversation.
I just love how on top of everything he is in a way that he's like, people keep thinking he shouldn't be. You know?
And this moment I love so much. We've got Sam, and he's talking to his friends, and he's like, maybe we should try and get Cotter Pike or Sir Dennis Mallister to give in and support the other. Someone needs to convince one of them. Someone, said Gren doubtfully. What someone? Gren is so dumb. He thinks someone might be him. Maybe when someone is done with Pike and Mallister, he should convince King Stannis to marry Queen Cersei. King Stannis is married. What am I gonna do with him, Sam? Sighed Pip. Oh, I love it so much.
Poor Gren. And then Gren is like, well, Cotter and Sir Dennis don't even like each other.
Mm-hmm.
They fight about everything. Like, he's not seeing the bigger thing that Sam is trying to get done here.
Yeah.
So Sam is like, if we explained. And Pip was like, oh, it's we now. Before it was someone, and now it's we.
And this is when Gren's like, well, you are Sam the Slayer. And Sam's like, no, it was the dragon glass. A lord's son, the maester's steward, and Sam the Slayer. You could talk to them, might be. I could, said Sam, sounding as gloomy as Dolorous Ed, if I wasn't too craven to face them.
I like, too, that this whole conversation happens because Sam's had a little bit too much to drink.
Yep.
So, yeah, I fucking cannot remember, like, we talked about this before, like, on the show, because I had forgotten that Stannis shows up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But then once he shows up and I'm reminded, I started to remember some other things about the show. And I had talked about, or asked rather, and I don't think you can answer me because it would be a spoiler, but like the show had Jon get murdered by all his brothers. They all took turns stabbing him.
Right.
And then Melisandre brings him back to life.
Right.
So I was wondering to myself, if that were going to be a thing that happened, now would be the time. But it doesn't feel... It could happen, but I don't feel like the energy is right for that to happen in the book.
Okay.
So I'm really curious, like I know that there are still some people who think that Jon was a turncoat. That's mentioned in this chapter. Jon is not participating with the voting. But it also just, so I don't know. I guess my question is, and I guess you still can't answer, is does that really happen? I don't know, because on the show it happens right after the big blow up with the wildlings and Stannis showing up. I don't know. I feel like the show invented that. That's not going to be a thing in the books, right?
Which part?
Them all stabbing Jon and killing him, and then her bringing him back to life.
I mean,
you could just tell me.
I couldn't.
Sure, you could.
I absolutely.
We're all friends.
Could not.
You could just tell me real quick, like right now.
Cold note. Just experimenting with vowels.
You said it that way. I don't know. I would be really upset if that really happens in the book, though, because I feel like there's a lot of people here now. Stannis is here. Like, you're not going to just mutiny Jon Snow with Stannis right there. Like, I don't know. I wish I could remember more from the show.
I'm so glad you can't.
I really wish I could. It bothers me a lot, and like I just can't. Like, the pieces are all there, but they're just out of order.
I'm going to tell you something too. It's going to be so much worse soon because the show just stopped making sense in a lot of ways. So like trying to connect dots and stuff, it's going to feel more and more tenuous because the show barely cared about that after a point, So, yeah. Yeah.
I wish I could just forget the show entirely. Having it take up pieces of my... That's not what I meant, but also hard agree. But that was not what I meant.
Normally Unspoiled is about like I wish that I could forget this and experience it again as if for the first time. And the show is like, oh man, I don't want to do that.
It just like, having it so piecemeal in my brain really fucks me up. You know, it's just, I wish I could explain to you guys if you ever have a situation in your life like that where the memories are there, but they're jumbled and out of context. And then when you read the story, certain passages will trigger very specific moments from the show, but they'll just be floating. You know? It's almost uncomfortable at times. Like there are times when this is really uncomfortable for me to do. Yeah, because it feels like I'm gaslighting myself. And that also the whole point of the show is for me not to be spoiled on things that I kind of only a little bit remember. So then it's like the show is also gaslighting me. Like the podcast is gaslighting me. You're gaslighting me. It's all very weird.
Well, I am not going to shy away from my duty as gaslighter. I'll shoulder that burden. I'm fine with it.
Oh yeah, you clearly are.
It's weird because then there's other stuff that you like do remember, but it's not even because you read the book. It's because you heard the gossip around the show from the book, from third parties. Like, just real weird the way you know stuff.
It's a mess in there. It's a mess up here. I've been trying to tell y'all that for a long time. It is no good. I told you something about how my brain works off mic, and you were horrified.
What was it?
I'm not going to say it on mic. It's personal.
Man, I don't remember how what you said.
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
But your response was literally like, "Oh my God, I don't know how you walk around with a brain like that."
That sounds right, though. I mean, to be honest, any of us describes the way our brain works to anybody else, and it's going to sound like a fucking horror show.
That's true. That makes me feel better. That makes me feel a lot better. Thank you for that.
Anytime. If you need me to make you feel more normal in your mental issues, I'm your girl.
Thank you.
All right. Well, before we wrap, we have got new patrons to say hello to this week. We have Abigail Schnaubridge.
Hello.
Maxie.
Hello.
Pauline. Anna Delorier. Alexi Feller. Alicia Taylor. Shika M. And Emily M.
Welcome, all you new faces. And some old names I recognize.
I pressed that one more time. I didn't mean to do that. That last one was a mistake. Sorry. But yeah, thank you guys all so much. I think a bunch of people are signing up as well because of the Harry Potter feed going private soon. Yeah. So just FYI to those of you who also listen to that, you're going to have to be a patron to listen to that feed after the 15th. But yeah, I am really delighted to see so many new faces and some familiar ones like Alexi, whom we know and have met.
Yep.
And Rashawn and I are about to, in a few hours, do our Unsober episode about animals, part 2, because I found an amazing, 100 crazy animal facts listicle, and we recorded it Unsober, but true to form, spoke for so long in tangents that we got to number 30, I think, of the 100. And I'm telling you, when I say that these are crazy facts, blew me away, a few of them, straight up. One of them was this tiny shrimp that can punch as hard as a bullet, something like that. Do you remember that fact? That one's burned into my brain. I was just, there's a lot of things like that where it's you would really think this would be something cited a little bit more often, but it's just specific enough that I can kind of get why it doesn't come up.
You're just why doesn't everybody know this?
Exactly.
Why wasn't I informed?
This is how I felt about finding out that hippos aren't carnivores and just want to kill you for fun.
I feel like that is information we should all be getting at a very young age so we can plan our lives accordingly.
And they're heavy enough to run along the bottom of bodies of water.
Yeah.
That's so scary.
No, we're all just out here not knowing they can do that.
And do I think that's going to affect my life at any time soon? No,
it
but
could,
you can
though.
never tell.
It could.
Yeah.
You might
the chances of being killed by a hippopotamus are slim, but never zero, as they say. So watch out.
for hippopotami.
All right. Is there anything you want to say before we wrap this up?
No, ma'am.
All right. We love you very much. Until next time. Toodaloo, motherfuckers.
Bye, guys.
Fuck capitalism.
There it is. I was just going to ask you.
Joffrey, Cersei, Walder Frey, Meryn Trant, Tywin Lannister.
That was an Unspoiled Network podcast.